Welcome, idiots, to the Power Mizzou Crow Eating Hour here on State of the Tigers, PowerMizzou.com's YouTube channel, brought to you as we are every single Monday night by James Carlton, State Farm Insurance in Webster Groves, the most popular insurance agent in the state of Missouri. I don't know if that's true. We say a lot of things that aren't true here. But what is true is if you call James Carlton, you can save money. 314-961-4800. Check him out at carltoninsurance.net or on facebook.com/Carlton Insurance. Get in touch with James. He wants to give you a quote. He wants to be your insurance agent. He wants to give Mizzou a little NIL money. He wants to funnel it all to Dennis Gates in the 2026 transfer portal because the truth is Missouri is an NCAA tournament team, despite the insistence of many of us that was not true this year. I will not say whether I include myself in that many of us group. Drew King on the screen now. I'll give you this, Drew. I don't know if you actually always believed they were a tournament team, but you did at least refuse to write them off as quickly as some of us.
Well, I was going to say, Gabe, you said that we say a lot of things here that aren't true. I don't know why you said we when you in that part. No, but when I went on that now infamous rant at the time, everybody was up in arms over, 2 losses. And the whole point of me saying what I said back then was, there's a lot of season left. A lot of stuff can happen. Let's see what they look like with Jaden Stone back in the picture, with Trent Pierce making his debut, with maybe Trent Burns eventually getting into the fold, right? And you're right. I definitely was kind of there with y'all after the Illinois loss, ready to write the season off. Mizzou wasn't ready, though. And so absolutely commendable job by Dennis Gates to right the ship and be able to get them back in a spot where they seem in a really good place going into the NCAA tournament.
Let's start here, and then we'll get into some different topics. If Missouri does not win another game before Selection Sunday, is it in the NCAA tournament?
That's okay. So I texted our friend Kyle Samolovsky about this, and my text to him was like, what do you feel like the ceiling and the floor is seating-wise for Missouri? And I kind of actually want to get your opinion on this first. What do you view as the ceiling and the floor?
The ceiling is the 6. The floor to me is Dayton. I believe Kyle will say the floor is not making the tournament.
He did say that. So Kyle Samolovsky, by the way, you can look at his bracket projections at samolovskysports.com. But he said,
just sound it out, folks. You can get
yes, Samolovsky. Also, it ends with an E, not a Y. I made that mistake once. Don't do that. Okay. But lose out. Most likely Mizzou's playing in Dayton, but you get a couple of bid stealers and it could get kind of hairy. Maybe they lose out on a spot, but you win one more game, you're still a lock to go dancing. You win 2 games the rest of the way. He said it likely keeps them where they are right now, which he has them as the lowest rated 9 seed. And then realistically, a 3-1 finish, they win where they pick up a win in the conference tourney. That could get them possibly to the 7 seed, maybe the 8 seed. And then the best case scenario where they win out and they go and get an SEC title, now you're talking the 5 or the 6 discussion, Kyle said. So you were pretty on point there, Gabe. I think 6 as a high end, 11 playing in Dayton at the low end. That's probably where they're at.
Because, look, I think they're in if they don't win again. Now, will Selection Sunday be a little bit nervous if that's the case? Yes. Will you be paying more attention to the Atlantic 10 and the MAC conference tournaments and things like that? Yes, but it is reinforced every single time there are college basketball games that the bubble sucks. Everyone on the bubble does not want to be in the NCAA tournament, except Missouri, which has taken itself off the bubble. I also think like we're looking at all these bracketologists and bracket matrix and all that. I think that because of the way the net and Ken Palm have treated Missouri, I think these guys are all underseeding Missouri by about a line. If the tournament started tomorrow, I believe Missouri would be an 8 or a 9 seed.
I agree with that. Especially when you look at specifically like their resume rankings. I think they're 32, 33 in strength of record and wins above bubble. And those are the things that I think the NCAA selection committee is going to look really closely at. And so, like, yeah, the predictive metrics aren't all that great, but Mizzou's not really in the conversation where those matter right now, in my opinion. So I agree with you. Like, I think that right now they're an 8, and with a strong finish, a 7 seed might be realistic.
Yeah, I think if they win 2 this week, they're 7, regardless of what happens in Nashville. I want to get this in here first. Freeway Jared wants to play and cook you one-on-one. If he wins, you have to pay his subscription. If you win, he gives a subscription to someone else. So there's an offer on the table for you to play one-on-one.
Jared, I am so down. I don't know if you're in Columbia, but we can get a run in at the Arc on Friday. Like, I'm here for it. So let's make it happen.
Okay, and I'm good with gifting the subscription. If Drew loses, Power Mizzou will stand behind him. Drew doesn't have to pay it. Jared just gets a free week or a free month. So Jared, hit Drew up, set it up. We will not broadcast it on YouTube, but we will report the findings on a future episode of the show. Do want to invite you guys, like, comment, share, subscribe, put your questions in the chat. We'll get to them. Have a few things kind of we want to talk about. First, Drew, I thought that the Drew King factor was dead. And now many people are saying that Missouri played its best road game with you not in the house. And I fear if they lose in Norman with you there tomorrow, you are going to be back in the crosshairs of Missouri fans, and they're going to ask you not to attend postseason games. I think it's unfair. I want to be clear. I think it's unfair.
The DKF has been exhumed. Yes, Gabe, it's true. And people like to conveniently forget that I was there for the Kentucky game. I was there for the A&M game. I was there for South Carolina, which at the time was the biggest road win that they had. So yeah, and I also was not there for the Alabama game, by the way. Like that does not count toward the DKF. So I understand why people feel that way. I would have preferred the DKF to stay buried, but here we are. I will accept whatever consequences come with it.
And there you go. And Drew will be in Norman. Did want to give you a heads up. I meant to keep texting you this and keep forgetting. You should probably leave Norman early on Wednesday. They're going to get like hellacious thunderstorms Wednesday afternoon. So day after the game, you might want to hit the road. All right. So I didn't warn you that this is what I wanted to do, but I want like the 3 biggest reasons in order you think Missouri has made this turnaround. We'll both start with number 3, then go 2, then go 1. I know pretty clearly what my top 2 are. I'm curious though where, and I'll start if you want me to. You start whatever with number 3.
You go first, and I'll think of my 3.
Okay, my number 3 is the change at the point guard position, and it happened by necessity. I think like T.O. Barrett was not supposed to be the starter here, but they put him in, and all of a sudden, he just was a player we've never seen before. And I think Gates deserves credit for 2 things here. Number 1, the way T.O. is playing, what he's gotten out of T.O., the clear development there. But number 2 is keeping Anthony Robinson engaged enough that he hasn't lost him for the season, right? Like a lot of guys in Ant's position could have told the coaching staff, I'm out at the end of the year, and basically either quit or just not played. In fact, I would speculate that's probably happened on this roster somewhere. If you want to look down the bench and see who might not be playing. But Ant hasn't done that. And while he's not going to be the early entry NBA all SEC guy that some people hoped, like he was a factor in them winning 2 games last week and has offered hope that, he can be that in the postseason.
So, a question just to clarify, is this the top 3 things that turned the season around since like Illinois or since?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the top 3 reasons you think basically since the start of conference play, Missouri's been a different team.
Yeah. So number 3, I'll go with Trent Pierce. I think that him coming on, immediately being impactful, kind of finally playing up to his size has made a huge difference. He's averaging 10 points a game, shooting 40% from 3, has given Mark Mitchell the floor spacing he needs to be dominant inside, and has grown into like a key guy for Missouri, in my opinion. I think he stepped up on the defensive end this year. He's improved in a lot of ways. And so, I think that he would have made a difference when they played against Notre Dame. And maybe the Kansas game isn't quite as big as a blowout with him around. So I think Trent Pierce is a big part of the equation. And I get the other Trent mixed up all the time.
Right. I think our numbers 1 and 2 are going to be the same. I'm just not sure the order. So I'm curious, what would you go number 2?
Number 2 has to be the other Trent, which is Trent Burns. Him coming out of nowhere and suddenly being a rotation piece has done big things for Mizzou in these last couple of games. I wrote last week, it kind of like whatever we thought the floor and the ceiling was 2 weeks ago, it's higher now because he's a real player. It lets them keep Sean Phillips fresh. It puts less pressure on Sean Phillips to stay out of foul trouble and be less physical. And like Trent had some Kareem Abdul-Jabbar sky hooks in this past game against Mississippi State where like they're completely unblockable. So I think having no drop off at that 5 spot whenever they changed out Phillips for Burns and Burns for Phillips, I think that's been I can't understate like how important that's been for Mizzou, especially like in the win against Tennessee, where like that's the number 1 defense in the conference. That's a really physical team, and Trent Burns was able to hold his own in that game. So I think that he's been super impressive.
So I will say a little bit more about Trent Burns in a minute, because as I thought, maybe we'll have the same 1-2. I think the order is reversed, but I do want to say the behind the back pass directly to a Mississippi State defender was absolutely my favorite play of the season, because that kid was feeling it, man. He's like, I am out here putting moves on. Everything I shoot is going in. I'm blocking shots. I'm getting rebounds. I'm about to do some shit that is going to blow their minds. And dude, it was like one of the worst passes I've ever seen, but because it was a 25-point lead, it was objectively hilarious. And I love the fact that he tried it.
Yeah. I mean, like imagine you're, what's his name? Quincy Ballard for Mississippi State. And you're in like just a dog fight with Sean Phillips for the first 4 minutes of the game. And you're in there like throwing elbows, everything, right? And you're absolutely tired, and you get a reprieve. They take Sean Phillips out the game, and you're like, oh, thank goodness. I get a little bit of a breather. And then in comes a 7'5", 260-pound man that is backing you down in the post.
And just like 12-foot baby hooks, just like he shoots them every day.
Like there is no reprieve for any big man that Mizzou's going to go against the rest of the way.
All right, so my number 2 is, as I wrote in 10 Thoughts this morning, the wolf being real. And what I mean by that is by year 4, Dennis Gates talking about injuries was the boy who cried wolf. We were all tired of hearing it. I mean, and I said time after time after time, and I'll just directly quote myself, if the dude you recruited out of a hospital bed as a last-second flyer is the guy that's going to save your season, your season's already over. Well, Jaden Stone's been phenomenal. Trent Pierce has been the guy that they've said he was going to be for 2 years. And like Dennis Gates brings it up in every answer, but I can't blame him at this point because they were missing 40% of their starting lineup and at worst, their third and fourth best players for a stretch of the season. If you play Notre Dame again with your full lineup, there is no question you win the game. If Missouri played Kansas tomorrow with Pierce and Stone, it's a pick 'em to me. Like they clearly don't lose by 20.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And to that point, Gabe, with my number one, I'll just it's kind of a combination of what you've already said, which is just T.O. Barrett and Jaden Stone being absolute dudes, right? And like coming into this season, Mizzou thought Ant Robinson and Sebastian Mack were going to be their two starters in the backcourt. And for a while there, it seemed like neither of them were playable. And it hasn't mattered all that much because of how good T.O. Barrett and Jaden Stone have been for the team this season. Like you said, Jaden Stone being out against Kansas and being out against Illinois, those games are probably closer with him back in the lineup. And T.O. Barrett looking like the future of the team in this past week. Like I thought he was going to be a really good player. I don't know that I ever saw him completely taking over a game, dominating a Tennessee team that, again, is like number one on defense, and they have no answers to stop him. That has been what I think is the biggest difference maker of this team is those two guys leading the way in the backcourt.
Number one for me is Trent Burns. I mean, it was literally 2 weeks ago. I said, you can't play him anymore. Like it's beating you. You can't do this. And he's now this guy out here, Dr. J, Kareem. I called him Wilt at one point on Saturday, whatever you want to say. But here's, I think, what it has done. I think it has freed up Sean Phillips to just go play. Like, don't worry. If you get 2 fouls, it is not now the end of the world. Like, we don't want you to, obviously, but they are now getting a combined 40 minutes a game out of Phillips and Burns, basically, probably 38, whether it's 21 and 17, 20 and 18, whatever it is. And so Sean Phillips doesn't feel this pressure of, I have to play 32 minutes and then we have to pray that the other 8 doesn't kill us because the backup big man position is either Mark Mitchell out of position or just a complete black hole.
Yeah, Nick Randall,
right. Yeah, I think it's changed that. And I think the other thing it has done is Missouri now has, at all times, pretty much, a guy who is capable of scoring at the 5. Now, not threes, but Phillips and Burns, most of their shots are going to be within 4 to 6 feet of the rim. But they've shown a consistent ability to do that. And Mark Mitchell is Missouri's best passer. So now when you double him, all of a sudden, he has guys he can throw the ball to who are scoring off these passes down low. I really think Trent Burns' emergence is the number one reason that this is almost a completely different team than it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 100% agree. Like you said, it just takes a whole lot of pressure off of Sean Phillips. And I feel like that's why you saw both guys have just about their best games of the season against Mississippi State, is because you can feel the connectedness between the two, right? You know exactly what you're going to get now out of Sean Phillips and out of Trent Burns. And so, and the team knows how to play off of them too. I think that's been really impressive. Like you said, Mark Mitchell can find them when he gets double teamed, and T.O. Barrett really likes the dump off pass when he's driving into the lane. So, I agree with you. Both those guys have been huge this season.
What you guys are looking at right now on the screen is a screenshot I grabbed from Haslametrics. It's basically measuring the teams that have risen in the country the most in the last 3 weeks. Apparently Oral Roberts and Tennessee State have played really well. I don't know. I haven't paid attention, but there's Missouri at number 3, Duke at number 4. Drew, I think it's legitimate to say in the last month, Missouri has helped its NCAA tournament position more than any team in the country. I think UCF is right there, but I would say Missouri has done more to help itself than anybody in the country in the last 4 weeks.
I would agree with that. And on Bart Torvik, you can look it up. In the month of February, just the month of February, Mizzou rated out as the 16th best team in the country. And I think that's realistic, right? This kind of looks like a team that is capable of making a run to the second weekend if it gets the right draw. So, Mizzou's done a whole lot to help themselves. And some might say a little bit too much, Gabe, because I put a poll out on our message board this week. And I asked the question, would you rather be on the 8-9 line, or would you rather be a 10 or 11 seed going into the NCAA tournament? We got over 450 votes, and over 90% of people said they would rather be the 10 or the 11 seed. What's your opinion on that?
I agree with it. Like, I'd rather be a 10 or an 11 than an 8 or 9. But here's the thing, man. I don't think you can spend a bunch of time worrying about who are we going to face in game 2. I mean, whatever. You're going to be an underdog no matter what if you get there. But considering where you were 2 months ago, getting to round 2 would be phenomenal. And like Drew, I remember sitting in Arco Arena watching Princeton finish off Arizona and thinking, okay, we've got to make travel plans because we're covering the Sweet 16 next year. And then like 48 hours later, the season was over. It's why we love this tournament, because stuff happens that you don't expect. So to me, looking at the round 2, round 3, round 4, like, it's fun. We're all going to do it. Don't get me wrong. Easiest bracket. I'm not saying nobody should do it, but like, it's just mental masturbation until we actually get there, because nobody knows what's going to happen in this tournament.
Yeah. So I think I might have read this in your column. What do you think is more likely for Missouri now at this point, making a 7 seed or making an 11 seed?
I think 7. I mean, I think if Missouri wins 2 more games, they've got a really good shot to get to that 7 line. And obviously it depends on what other teams do. But like, I think if the tournament started today, I think Missouri's an 8 or a 9. And the way they're playing, I expect them to win a game this week, and I expect them to win a game in Nashville. And I think that might be enough to push them up 1 more line. You guys are looking at the SEC standings right now. If the SEC tournament started today, Missouri would be the 4 seed. It can be anywhere between 3 and 10. I'm going to toss up. This would be your bracket if the tournament did start today. Missouri would not play until Friday. Would face Kentucky, Oklahoma, or Mississippi State. Drew, you did a story yesterday on all the possibilities. They can be between 3rd and 10th. And if I remember your favorite scenario correctly, it was a 6-way tie for 4th
7.
and 10 and 8.
7-way.
7-way tie?
Yes.
Okay.
So in that scenario, Mizzou loses these next 2 games, but so do Kentucky and Tennessee. I think Vanderbilt has to lose a game that's not against Tennessee. Georgia has to win 1 game, and I think Texas A&M has to go 1-1 and well. But there is a scenario where Mizzou goes 0-2, everyone else finishes 10-8. And because of how many of these teams in the middle section there that Mizzou's beaten, it would hold the round robin tiebreaker over everybody, because they beat Vanderbilt, they beat Kentucky, they beat Tennessee, beat Auburn, and beat A&M. So you're talking about like 4-2 at that point. Yeah, like Mizzou's got the inside track to one of these double buys in the tournament. 1-1, you still have a really good shot. You just kind of need Kentucky and Tennessee to lose a game. But even like worst case there, I think you're maybe the 7 seed. And then if they go 2-0 this week, Gabe, like there's no scenario where they're not the 3 seed going into the tournament. So yeah, Mizzou's got itself in a great spot heading into this last week.
If you win a game, you're almost certainly a top 6 seed. If you win 2 games, you are the 3 seed. Let me propose something to you. Somebody
Just saw
said something.
Chunky's comment.
Yeah. Somebody said something on the Chunky Shrapnel says mental masturbation will be a big addition to my Gabe soundboard. I'm glad to know there is one. So somebody said on the board today, if Missouri gets the 3 seed, it's a good thing because they avoid Florida until the final. I propose to you it is better for Missouri to be the 4 or the 5 seed because I think Missouri matches up better with Florida than it does with Alabama. I think Alabama is the team I want to avoid in Nashville if I
can. Yeah, I mean, Mizzou beat Florida once already, so I think that there would be...
Beat them last year, and the only game they've lost to them in the last 2 years, Mark Mitchell didn't play.
Exactly. So definitely a confidence level up against Florida, whereas like the Alabama game did not go so well, and Mark Mitchell did play in that one. What I will say about Alabama, though, they kind of only have one playable big now that Charles Bediako is out. Like Aiden Sherrell's been really good for him, but behind him, they're down to Taylor Bowen and Noah Williamson, and neither of them have been all that great this season. And so maybe it's a little bit different now because you've got Trent Burns in the mix, and Sean Phillips has taken it up a level. But yeah, like Mizzou hasn't done especially well against those run and gun teams that like to shoot a lot of threes this year. So I agree with you. Florida's probably a better matchup.
That's kind of my point with Bama is like, I don't care how many 2s you score. If they get hot, they're going to shoot you out of the gym. Like Missouri beat Bama last year. How? They made like 23s in a game. I mean, that's how you have to beat Bama. Like Tennessee locked them down for 32 minutes and still got beat because LeBaron Philon just had 8 minutes where he said, all right, it's time to go. Along these lines, Jordan Hying says, if we win the next couple of games, do you think we could win the SEC championship? Like, do you think Missouri is capable of going down and winning 3 straight in Nashville?
Yes and no. So I think like they beat Arkansas. It's another example of them proving they're capable of winning against anybody you put in front of them, right? They've beaten the best of the best in this league. On the other hand, we haven't seen Mizzou be consistent enough to go on that kind of a run yet. Like I think their longest winning streak since non-conference has been 3 games. So that's kind of what would concern me, and it's holding me back from saying like, yes, definitely. It's just like they haven't been quite consistent enough to show that they are capable of going on a run like that.
I mean, how many SEC teams have won more than 3 in a row, though? Like Florida obviously has.
Alabama's Georgia, the hottest team in the conference. Tennessee has for sure.
Tennessee has. Okay, Georgia has not won more than 2 in a row. Tennessee has 2 4-game winning streaks. Let's look at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt started with had a 3-game winning streak. They've had 2 of them, but they've only had 3. Had 3 in a row. Texas A&M at one point won 4 in a row, but they started 7-1. So the point is there aren't a lot of them. So let me riddle you this as far as the SEC championship goes, SEC tournament championship. And I want to preface this by saying there's no like proven correlation between, hey, if you play a long time in your conference tournament, if you're playing on Sunday, it impacts you in the NCAA tournament. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not, right? I mean, Florida, I think, made the SEC title game last year and then won the national championship. So it's no big deal. If I give you an SEC championship, SEC tournament title for Missouri, but I tell you the cost is you are not making the second weekend of the NCAA tournament, do you take the deal?
I would, personally.
I would too.
Absolutely.
Give me your reasoning and then I'll give you mine.
So when you think about like just kind of what the expectations became for this season, I don't know that the second weekend of the NCAA tournament was ever like realistic. And it might be now, but at the same time, like, I think that winning a conference tournament still means something. And I don't know that Mizzou's done it in the SEC before. I don't think they have. So, like, Dennis Gates, they play the clip every game. We're going to cut down nets. We're going to raise banners. We're going to hold up trophies. Like, that's an opportunity to do it. And so, yeah, I think that absolutely you have to value winning a conference.
Winning the SEC tournament would mean more to Missouri than it would mean to Florida, Alabama, probably Arkansas, Tennessee. Because look, I mean, Florida won a national title last year. Alabama has made a Final Four. John Calipari's Arkansas has made Final Fours in the past. It's been a while. I think for Missouri, like you said, hanging a banner, whatever, no matter what, would be a big deal. And look, this team, like, yes, I think it can make the second weekend. Are there reasonable Final Four hopes? Probably not. So if you tell me I'm giving you an SEC tournament championship, the cost is you're done on the first weekend of the tournament, I say that's fine, because at least then I have something tangible to remember about this season. Versus, Sweet 16 would be cool, but is a Sweet 16 and losing on Thursday in the SEC title game or SEC tournament a better combination? I don't think so. I think it would be worth something to this program and this school to win that tournament.
It's also, like I said, Mizzou's been to the Sweet 16 before. It hadn't happened in a while, but they've been to Sweet 16s. They don't have an SEC championship yet. And so that, to me, would be just as impressive, I guess, as making it.
Now, if you tell me the trade-off is, but if you lose on Thursday, you're making the Final Four, then obviously everybody says, ooh, lose on Thursday by 60. But that's not the game we're playing. Define says we've never had a double bye in the SEC tourney. That would be huge. They did, actually. Was it Dennis's first year that they finished fourth?
The Kobe Brown team.
And made the semifinals, right? Beat Tennessee and then made the semis.
Lost to Alabama.
Yeah, Missouri's never made the SEC championship game in basketball. Breakfast King of Loyola picking up for the DKF says he's traveling internationally during the Final Four, so this will be the year that Missouri makes it. So if so, remember Breakfast King of Loyola. He
my fellow king,
exclusively responsible. There you go. One more, and then we got Cody in the green room, and we'll bring him in. Linus Wade says, how do you think Crow and Barrett will pair? And I'm going to give you my stock answer first. Quit wishing your life away. This is an NCAA tournament team. We'll see what happens. But also, like, I get asked this question a lot. I don't know, man. They're both good basketball players. They'll figure it out. Like, I don't understand why it's this narrative that they'll have a hard time playing together.
I get it to a degree, just because you watch any Inglewood game and you'll see, like, Jason Crow holds the ball a lot. He gets all of the touches, and it's going to be an adjustment, and it's not happening here. And so I get the question. I also trust Dennis Gates to kind of figure it out. Like, I think that Jason Crow is good enough that he'll be able to accept, I'm not going to get as many touches here. I got to pick my spots a little bit more. I think it'll be fine.
Well, and Drew, I'm old enough to remember when we were asking if Mark Mitchell and Sean Phillips could coexist on the floor together. Mm-hmm. They figured it out. Good players.
I was the one who asked it. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, the point is, good players figure it out. Keitha gives no F's about the SEC tournament.
All right.
So, look, reasonable minds can disagree. It's just that when you disagree with us, it's our show, and we're right, and you're not right. So that's how it goes. Gonna bring Cody onto the stage now. Go 3-man booth for a minute, and here is I usually let you guys do what you want in the crossover section, but I'm not doing that this time because I have an actual question for you. On the list of annual sporting events or of things that you enjoy watching, where is the first weekend of the NCAA tournament? Like, where does it rank?
Might be number one for me, to be honest. I love the first weekend of the NCAA tournament. I can sit down in front of my TV with a Dr. Pepper and a bag of potato chips, and I will not move for 12 hours.
And chicken nuggets.
Yeah, chicken nuggets as well. But yeah, I will just rot on the couch, consume as much basketball as possible. Actually, I used to have to be at work for that too. I'd be at the San Marcos Daily Record office, and we'd have a little TV screen to the side that I could watch the games on. We were late for deadline every year. So, yeah, it's absolutely like one of my favorite days of the sports calendar.
It's pretty low on my list, to be honest.
Really?
I think it's probably still in the top 10, but the first weekend of the NCAA tournament is also the weekend of the NCAA wrestling tournament. And so, like Drew, if I'm not in the building, I'm going to sit on the couch or in a comfy chair and just watch wrestling. Like ESPN's done this really cool thing where you can get all 8 mats on the screen at the same time. And I just sit and I enjoy the action. Like I know all of the guys that are usually in the ESPN booth calling the action. For a while, all of the Iowa wrestling teams, Iowa State, Northern Iowa, had a bunch of high school kids that I have been covering for, at that point, 5, 6, sometimes 7, 8 years. So I'll just sit and watch all those guys. Like obviously kept tabs on like Mizzou, Oklahoma State, Arizona State, Virginia Tech, all the other like wrestling powers around the country. And so that's hard to beat that for me, but like I'm probably a unique one in that aspect where I want to sit and watch the NCAA wrestling tournament as opposed to Matt Madness. You get it, Sam. I'd rather watch that than the first weekend of the NCAA basketball tournament. However, the last few years last couple years when I've been covering Alabama, I have paid very close attention because Alabama's obviously been a pretty big player in the last few NCAA tournaments, getting to the Final Four and the Elite Eight. So I haven't watched as much wrestling over the last 2 years, but if I had my choice, I would sit and watch the NCAA wrestling championships over the first weekend of March Madness.
So we all like different things. Variety is the spice of life. That is intriguing. I would say probably until 10 years ago or so, like first weekend of the NCAA tournament, to me, those are the best 4 days of the sports calendar. Now, because I am a middle-aged old white man, I will put the Masters in the conversation. It is like 1 and 1A, but like I can skip watching the Masters on Thursday, right? I can catch up with the Masters on Saturday and Sunday. I mean, I'm locked in on Sunday for 6 hours, on Saturday for 6 hours, but you don't have to watch the whole thing. So when I was in 8th grade, Missouri played Northern Iowa in the first round of the NCAA tournament. It was a 3-14 game. Northern Iowa won the game on a 3-pointer at the buzzer. I was in band class when it happened. I called home and asked my mom on the school payphone. I'm talking about all sorts of shit you guys didn't even know existed. It called home to find out the score of the game, and she told me they lost, and I didn't believe her. And so that was the last day I went to school or worked on the opening weekend of the NCAA tournament until I got this job. Like she would let me, because my dad was covering it. So my mom would let me skip school when Missouri played in the NCAA tournament. And then like college, I'm absolutely not going to classes, the first weekend in college. I actually remember I think I was a sophomore or junior. We went to spring break in Cancun, and on that Thursday, me and a buddy said, all right, you guys can go to the beach. We went to the Cancun Planet Hollywood and just saddled up to the bar and watched 12 hours of games. It was the day that Hampton beat Iowa State as a 15 seed. So I actually I enjoy the event more when Missouri's not in it now. Because like wherever Missouri plays, like I missed Virginia UMBC because I was covering Missouri Florida State, right? And if Missouri plays, that's a 6-8 hour day. So we're missing most of the other games. Just as a fan, a viewer, it is actually better when the team you cover does not make the tournament. But it's also the only sporting event that progressively gets worse. Every round of the tournament interests me a little bit. Like by the Final Four, I really don't care very much.
That's fair. I mean, I still really care about the national championship and the Final Four too. But the excitement of the first weekend, I think, is a lot higher than those big games. And so, I agree with you.
The quad box was invented for the first weekend of the NCAA.
Yes. I remember like we had to watch the like Purdue lose to the 16 seed. Was it Furman that year? From our hotel room in Sacramento. Like, so I agree with you. It's a lot more fun when to watch when your team isn't in it. And yeah, I think that I'm still putting it number one on my list. I love the NCAA tournament.
You know, it's funny. It's funny. The other sporting events that I would probably prefer to watch for me over the NCAA tournament, I enjoy watching them for a lot of the same reasons. Like it's usually the sport at its best. And I'm talking like wild card weekend, divisional weekend of the NFL playoffs. I really enjoy, I have really learned to come to enjoy with the 12-team playoff for college football, the Friday, Saturday, 1 and then 3 games. And then the same thing on like New Year's Day where you just sit and you watch 3 quarterfinal games because it's like, there's more stakes. It's usually at that point in the stage, the best teams, but then also like the excitement of something starting, like the first weekend of college football when that returns, like that is always so much fun because usually the last few years we've been lucky. There've been a lot of really high profile matchups. And so like, it's the sport just kind of like coming together and just enjoying it for what it is at the beginning of something. And so for that, for some of the other, like a lot of the same reasons you guys love the first weekend of March Madness are the same reasons why I love the sporting events that I guess I would prefer to watch over the first weekend of March Madness. So
here's the one difference between the NCAA tournament and every other event that you talked about. Like a wild card weekend, great in the NFL or Super Bowl or whatever. Name the major sporting event. The NCAA tournament is the only one where I'm literally going to watch dudes I have never watched before, will never watch again, and probably don't know who they are. I mean, it has made guys like Harold Arsenault, Ali Farouk Manesh, Bryce Drew, like household names. When I turned to my TV on that day, I had never heard of those people. I had no idea who any of them were. And now, like 35 years later, I'm talking about them. It would be like, I mean, there is no comparison in the NFL or in the college football playoff because, like, there's no chance that the college football playoff, all of a sudden, I'm going to be like, oh, well, hey, here's this team that I didn't even really know how to program, until today. It would be like if App State, Michigan had suddenly been a first round college football playoff game. And I think that's what separates it to me.
I think that's fair. So that's the beauty of, how many automatic bids are there? 38. And so you've got the SEC champ on, in theory, a level playing field as the SoCon champ and the A10 champ and like all these other like small conferences that we don't even know exist or forget exist until it comes time for like conference championship weekend or the 2 weeks that lead up to it. Like that is an element that the NCAA tournaments, both men and women, like it's hard to match that energy.
Yep. Drew, any closing thoughts? Any basketball updates you got to give the people or anything? I mean, not Mizzou basketball updates, so you know what I mean.
Well, actually, the injury report might have came out. Let me look real quick.
Okay.
I was gonna say though, Gabe, I got a story that's similar to yours, which is that another sporting event that's high on the calendar for me is the NBA draft, and I always used to love finding out who was going to join the Spurs in the next season. And one year, I was at a Boy Scout summer camp when the draft happened, so I didn't get to watch that year. But my dad drove up the next day, and he had printed out an article that was like drafting or grading all of the draft picks for every team in the league. And that was how I found out and was brokenhearted to find out that the Spurs traded George Hill to draft Kawhi Leonard that year. And I was really upset.
You're a big George Hill fan?
I liked George Hill. Like, he was a really good player. And he was also supposed to be Pop's favorite. Pop was like, Tim Duncan doesn't laugh at my jokes anymore. George Hill still does. He's the future of the team. And all of a sudden, he's not the future of the team anymore. So
if it was any other coach, I would believe that wasn't true, but he might have been the future of the Spurs for Popovich.
SEC injury report, Honor Boateng and Javon Porter are out for Mizzou, and everyone is available for Oklahoma. So there you have it.
I legitimately thought for a minute you were going to say that's how you found out the Spurs had drafted Tim Duncan, and then I remembered you were like 3 when that happened, so never mind.
I might have been younger than 3, but
It
anyway.
was around 99. Yes. Yeah, so.
One more question before I go, because I know Cody was at the draft combine this past week. If you ran a 40-yard dash, Cody, what would your time be?
Ooh, see, I'm not a long speed guy. Like, I'm not a 40-yard dash guy. I'm a 3-cone shuttle guy. Like, I'm quick short area burst. Like, that's my game. So if I were to line up against Caleb Goody, I would give him like a good 10 yards of cushion, just assuming he's going to run a go route. Like, that's I don't know. What would my 40-yard dash be? It'd be in the 5s. It'd be in the 5s, 100%.
Yeah, I would get dusted by the offensive linemen. Like, I am running in molasses.
Do you think there's anybody at the combine you could beat in the 40?
No shot.
One guy.
Hang on, let me go see what the slowest 40
time was.
Let me go see if I can find it. I know
they can probably walk faster than I run.
Big Chris McClellan, while I'm sitting here trying to find it. Big Chris McClellan.
I couldn't beat him. I know that.
He's like 6'5", 323, Mizzou defensive tackle this past season. He ran a 5.05 40. So I
got one for you. Cody, you remember Sheldon Richardson, right?
I do.
Mizzou defensive tackle, 305. I saw him run a 4.72. God. I mean, that dude was he was the leanest 300-pounder I've ever seen in my life.
So quick search, the slowest 40 time at the combine was Garrett DiGiorgio. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. UCLA offensive lineman. He ran a 5.36 40.
Yeah, I've got no shot. I'm in the 7s.
I don't think I could win that.
He is 6'7", 319, and he ran a 5.36.
Like what's Rich Eisen's time usually when he does it? Do you know?
Ooh, I don't know. That's a good question. He runs it every year, doesn't he?
Like low 6s maybe.
40 time. His 2024 time was 6.25.
Okay.
6.25.
I feel like I'd have a shot, but my problem is with no ACL in my right knee, like I couldn't stop. I would have to sprint 40 yards, and then it would take me like 90 yards to gradually decelerate till I was done.
Well, that's what Toriano Pride did, didn't he? He just kind of kept jogging. I needed that one. He just
kept going. He just kept going. Yeah, he kept running. Yeah, no, I'm not a 40 guy. I'm not a long speed guy. I'm short area burst, short area quickness. Like you played basketball with me. Like I ain't running all the way up and down the court, but I'll, that 5 yards to go get the rebound. Yeah, absolutely. I'll do that.
Yeah.
I love that 40 yards half court player. Speed.
Yeah, great. The moment we go full court, Drew, I'm sorry, but I got 2 or 3 good sprints in me.
I also enjoy half the time we've been talking about this, the chat has just been naming random NCAA tournament heroes, which is reminds me of the thing on Instagram. Like dudes can just sit around and name athletes from their youth all night long.
Honestly, the state of the Tigers the week of the NCAA tournament starting, we need to just do an hour and a half of just remember some guys from the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
I'm big on that. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll talk our favorite tournament players, plays, games, all of that leading up. So Monday night will usually be good. I don't think Drew's going to have to be flying to Dayton, so we should be able to do that.
There we go.
Yeah. I mean,
all right.
Sounds
cool.
Good.
All right, Drew. Thanks for hanging out. We're going to talk about Big 12 wrestling now.
Freeway Jared, you know where to find me.
All right. We will report the matchup next week between Drew and Freeway Jared. All right. I'm being serious. I do want to give you a couple minutes. I know you were over so I stopped on my way. I had a TV show to do. I had to stop at the gas station to fill up, and I bumped into Cody at I don't know, it was about 9 o'clock this morning. He's like, I just came from Mizzou wrestling practice. So, look, Mizzou is already the SEC wrestling champ, so now they go to Big 12 wrestling championships. If they could find a way, which seems unlikely to me, they could be the first team to win 2 Power Conference wrestling championships in 1 year.
That'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? I told them when they beat Oklahoma, I joked with Brian and a handful of guys that they need a trophy. There needs to be, because 2 years Oklahoma now has been in the SEC. They have wrestled once in Norman last year, in Columbia this year, and they split. Oklahoma won last year, Missouri won this year. So they need a trophy between the two of them. So we'll see if that ultimately happens. But yeah, Big 12 wrestling, like we got to talk to Brian and the gang just this morning. We got to go watch practice. They go down to Tulsa. The tournament's Friday, Saturday. So based on my like way too early, maybe not 110% correct mathematical projections based on the seeds that came out, Missouri's actually projected to take third, which I think would be a pretty good accomplishment considering how young the team is this year and just how much growth that they've had to make over the course of the season. So
would that be behind Oklahoma State and Iowa State?
It would be behind Oklahoma State and Iowa State. Based on my math, Oklahoma State is far and away the favorite, and then Iowa State's pretty comfortably in second, and then Mizzou leads a pretty. I mean, there's like 6 or 7 teams in there.
Who else is in the Big 12? Because it's a bunch of random teams.
It is a bunch of random teams. The Big 12 Wrestling Conference uses a bunch of affiliate members. Yeah, so you've got the usual Big 12 teams like Oklahoma State, not Missouri and Oklahoma, they're SEC teams, but they're still Big 12 wrestling programs. But then you've also got Northern Iowa is a Big 12 wrestling program. Iowa State's a Big 12 wrestling program. Arizona State, obviously they're in the Big 12. Cal Baptist, North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Northern Colorado, Air Force, Wyoming. I think that's it. Utah Valley is another one. There's 12 teams, 14 teams, I think, something like that. So
I remember those old Utah Valley, Mizzou Big 12 battles. Yeah, those.
Yeah, all the way, some of those legendary. Yeah, wrestling's funny like that because like Mizzou for a decade plus was in the MAC when it came to wrestling. So, but yeah, no, they're projected to take third, which is I think Brian would be tickled if they came out and comfortably took third in Tulsa this upcoming weekend. So we'll see what happens. It's the first step toward the NCAA wrestling championships. This is their qualifier. So the Big 12 championships is important, but I think it's more important that they qualify guys for the national tournament.
I would like to propose for the Mizzou OU SEC wrestling trophy. I would like to propose like a bobblehead of Randy Macho Man Savage or something similar to that. I think that should be the trophy.
I need to go back because the Missouri Oklahoma, like they had a trophy or a trinket, I guess. Some people call it trinket game. Shout out to Cole Kublik. Missouri Oklahoma football used to have the peace pipe. And so like there's precedent there for this rivalry between these two schools to have a trinket. And so maybe with the wrestling rivalry, they bring back the peace pipe.
I think Oklahoma had the peace pipe for so long that it just it was permanently buried in Norman. Also, there is a former Mizzou football player. His name's Gene Snitsky, who was a pro wrestler. We follow each other on Instagram. So he could somehow be involved in the trophy. All right, but for real, we're 55 minutes in. It's spring football. You talk to Chip Lindsey tomorrow, so that should be interesting. I don't really know a lot about Chip Lindsey other than what I read on Wikipedia or a press release when he was hired.
We get to talk to both coordinators this week. Actually, we get Chip Lindsey tomorrow, Tuesday, because we're recording this on Monday night, and then we get Corey Batoon on Friday. And so I'm intrigued to hear from them both. It'll be the first time I personally have heard from them both. Chip, for obvious reasons, right? There's a quarterback battle. He's the new OC. He's got a new quarterbacks coach. What does he want to bring? What brought him here ultimately? We asked Drink about it last Thursday. We got to talk to Drink before they officially started spring practices. And he said, him and Chip, they're both from the Gus Malzahn tree, but they've never worked together. And so he kind of thought this was a good opportunity to bring Chip in just based on his pedigree of producing quarterbacks. He's got head coaching experience. He just steady resume of good offenses. Just wherever he's gone. And so, good, not great, let's, tread lightly there, but, just wanted to bring in new ideas. Right. And I think just between Chip, his quarterback experience, bringing in Garrett Riley, former Power 4 OC, now the quarterback's coach, bringing in an assistant quarterback's coach along with that. Like there's clearly an emphasis on, who's going to be quarterback one, Austin Simmons, and just wanting to make sure that you surround these guys with enough minds and enough brains to really kind of enhance the pass game, because that was lacking last season. And that is something that they want to rectify upcoming for 2026. So be curious to talk to Chip a little bit more about that, what brought him here, what his relationship with Drink has been like, what it is now, that type of thing. So I'm excited to talk to him. That should be a fun conversation tomorrow morning.
This is a question where I really wish we could just get like actual honest answers from coaches. Because if you ask Chip Lindsey, so like, what brought you here? Like, if I'm Chip Lindsey, I'm going, did you hear about that whole thing that happened with the Michigan coach, man? Like, I had to go somewhere, man. And they had Ahmad Hardy and Jamal Roberts, and that made it look pretty attractive. But wouldn't it be great if like you could just ask a question and they would just give you an answer like you were just shooting the shit off to the side.
In my experience, coordinators are maybe a little more honest than the head coach. And so I guess I don't know specifically with Batoon since he's the guy that's been here, but I am kind of curious what version of Chip we're going to get, right? Like how honest is he going to be? And honestly, like I think like judging his mood during the conversation, I think it could be telling because there's a chance that this offense could be pretty good. I know it's way too early and there's a lot of things that still need to come together, primarily, the quarterback thing and Austin Simmons being the guy and him learning the playbook and yada, yada. But like you got both of your top two running backs back. You have a pretty good offensive line on paper. You've got pretty good, talented receivers. Your entire tight end room comes back. Like there's a chance, as long as the quarterback position works out, that the offense could take a few steps forward. So I'm curious to kind of see at this way too early juncture of spring ball, like how is Chip feeling about where they're at now and maybe what they could be moving forward?
I'm going to go out on a limb, say he wants to be balanced on offense, multiple formations, really play to the strength of the guys on the team. The spring's just about learning what I got, getting to know these guys. They get to know me,
It's just, like typical coach speak. He'll probably give us some of that, but hopefully we can catch him off balance a little bit and maybe he'll give us something fun. Maybe we're supposed to get Chip and a couple of other offensive players. So I am also kind of curious, spring football, a lot of turnover on the roster. Who are the offensive players that they're going to give us? Because we talked to Ahmad Hardy last week, which by the way, breaking news tonight, Ahmad Hardy is now a father. So Ahmad Hardy, he tweeted a picture of him and his newborn child. So Ahmad Hardy is going to have dad strength going into 2026. Everybody beware, 2,000 yards probably incoming. So, but yeah, like we got to talk to Ahmad Hardy. So like, we're probably not going to talk to any of the quarterbacks, but like, do we get Caden Green? Do we get Donovan Olubade? Like who are some, do we get to talk to the tight ends? Maybe like who else do we get to chat with? I think could also be maybe telling about how they feel about certain positions on the offensive line.
Could be a Jamal Roberts day tomorrow. Brad Stillwell watching from New Zealand. We welcome you in. I want to get Mark Fenton's question in because apparently he asked it last week and I never put it on the screen. So from what I see, the defensive tackle position is the weak spot with guys like Elias Williams being backups. You talked to Chris McClellan about this, and let's preface this by saying, yes, Chris McClellan is going to say good things about his former teammates. He is not going to tell you the defensive tackle room sucks and we have no chance now that I'm gone. But like he did specifically mention a couple of guys.
He did. He specifically mentioned Marquise Gracial and Jalen Marshall, who are guys that I think just kind of naturally based on progression of the depth chart are going to take over that defensive tackle room. Those are kind of the two guys that, at least in our way too early two deeps, that we have kind of lightly penciled in as the starters right now. I think when it comes to defensive tackle, I'm most curious about like the rotation, because last year it was like McClellan and Sterling Webb took up like 80% of the snaps. And then you had Marquise Gracial and Jalen Marshall take up like 15% of the snaps after that. And then the remaining 5% went to Sam Williams, Elias Williams, Jason Dowell, guys like that. And so is it going to be something similar, or is there going to be a little bit more of a 4, 5, maybe even 6-man rotation? And so I think you start with Marquise Gracial, Jalen Marshall, a name that did surprise me a little bit when Chris McClellan, when I asked him about this, just like, hey, who are we going to be talking about within a few months by the end of spring? Like, who's a name that we need to know out of the D tackle room? And after Marquise Gracial and Jalen Marshall, he, talking Chris McClellan now, said specifically Elias Williams is a guy that he took under his wing over this past year. Just he says, I'm trying to pull it up right now. He said one of the most athletic guys on the team as far as pure and raw athleticism. He can run fast. He can jump high. He's a super impressive athlete. McClellan took Elias Williams under his wing kind of over this last year to really kind of teach him some of the small like tools of the trade. Like here's what you do when it comes to rushing the passer. Here's what it comes to like stopping the run, taking on double teams, helping him with small technique stuff like that. But then also helping him with stuff off the field as well. Like, hey, like there's an emphasis on your diet. There's an emphasis on your sleep. Like there is kind of a way that you need to live if you want to be this rock star defensive tackle that could be stepping up next for Mizzou. And so I thought it was interesting that he brought up Elias Williams unprompted after we asked him about Marquise and Jalen. So I think that's a name that he brought up that we need to maybe be paying attention to. And when we get to talk to Batoon later this week, I think that's somebody that I plan on asking about just to kind of see where he's at and what he's seen from him the last few weeks. And, really just where he's at growth wise the last couple of years.
You know what the best thing about being a sports writer and hosting a YouTube show is? there's no way you really got to live. You can kind of do whatever the hell you want. It doesn't affect your performance much on game day. So speaking of sports writers, I want to end here. I want to preface this with we have reached peak college football offseason content, apparently. This is like Pete Rose should or should not be in the Hall of Fame level content, and I don't even know what he's talking about. Keith A says, did you guys see that sports writer guy that put out where current coaches will be in 5 years? He has Drinkwitz at Oklahoma and Blake Baker at Mizzou. I don't know who that sports writer guy is. Good for him for filling his offseason show or column or blog or whatever it is. We all got to find things to talk about. I don't know where anybody's going to be in a year. I can't think of anything that is more meaningless than who will be coaching college football programs in 2030.
So the sports writer guy was Ralph Russo, the former AP.
I like Ralph Russo. He does a good job.
Who now writes at The Athletic. And apparently his editors just kind of came to him with the idea of, hey, can you predict what the coaching cycle will look like or who will be where by 2030? And so that was the story that came up here, and he had in his, impossible guesses, I suppose, that Eli Drinkwitz will be at Oklahoma and that Blake Baker will come back to Missouri. And specifically, he wrote that Baker will return to Missouri for his first head coaching job after helping Lane reach a couple of playoffs. And then about Oklahoma and Drinkwitz being at Oklahoma, he said, timing is everything in life. If there had been such coaching movement in 2024 after Drinkwitz knocked out a second straight double-digit victory season at Mizzou, maybe he would already be in a new gig. We think he's got another big season in him, and it will align with the Sooners heading back into the market. So that was Ralph just purely guessing. There's,
because, I mean, a year ago, had we written who will be head coaches in 2026, we clearly would have said Pete Golding at Ole Miss and Matt Campbell at Penn State. I mean, this is all very predictable.
Right. So, I mean, there's a few others that he kind of, throwing darts at the wall. Like I think in 2030, he's got James Laurinaitis as Ohio State's head coach. He also has Signetti still at Indiana in 2030. He's got Ben Arbuckle being the head coach at West Virginia in 2030. But he's also got Brett Venables at Oklahoma State in 2030, right? So like, I'm just sitting here scanning, right? Like he's got Andy Kotelnicki at Kansas in 2030. He's got Matt Entz, who's the current Fresno State head coach at Iowa State in 2030. Jason Beck, Michigan's offensive coordinator, goes back to BYU. I shouldn't say back. He came from Utah, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just total, like, I didn't realize we would hit the offseason this early, but here we are. And in typical Ralph fashion, it's a very entertaining read, but I would just kind of, whatever.
It's like the football. Do you ever read the Football Scoop Nuclear Winter that they do at the beginning of every coaching carousel thing? It's really entertaining. It's like, what if the craziest things happen? And it's a fun read. But
it's fun to go back.
I put a lot of stock in it.
I listen to a lot of other college football podcasts, just like help me stay up on the sport and whatnot. And one of them is Split Zone Duo. So shout out to, Kirshner and Richard Johnson. Those guys do a really good job. Every offseason, they go back and look back like 15 years of like the coaching hires of, so like the most recent one they did was like, they went back and looked at the coaching hires of 2012 and like, how did it impact the sport? And they're really good about like kind of retrospectively looking back at things like that and just what was the impact. And so it's fun to look back. Looking forward, especially in a sport like college football where anything is possible, like just not worth my time or brain cells, especially like during spring ball where it's like, I've got enough stuff that I need to worry about, like heights and like brand new heights, brand new weights. And, fortunate for us this year, brand new OCs as well. So there's enough things on my plate.
There you go. Well, I want to finish this up with the kind of analysis that you guys come here for. I just got a text from a friend. Duke looks good, like damn. So breaking news, Duke good at college basketball. This is the kind of thing you guys come here to learn. Appreciate you hanging out here with us and reliving old NCAA tournament memories, talking a little bit of football, a little bit of wrestling, a little bit of everything. We're going to have it all this week, guys. We've had football, basketball, baseball, women's basketball, softball, had some gymnastics, recruiting. I don't know. We'll figure out some other stuff to put on there. So appreciate you guys hanging out. Before you leave, like, comment, share, subscribe, do all those things. Join us over at the site. Most importantly, hit up James Carlton at State Farm Insurance in Webster Groves, carltoninsurance.net. Phone number is 314-961-4800. Please make sure to tell James you heard about him on this show. Helps us, helps him know that he's not just wasting his money by giving us some every year to sponsor this show. So We'd appreciate it if you do that. Drew and I will talk to you tomorrow night, right around this time. Drew from Norman, me from exactly this stool right here in my home office after Mizzou, Oklahoma. See y'all next time.